live. Thank you. We are live. We are live. The Senate Finance. It is March 19th. And we're going to do some follow-up testimony to some discussions last night. So Senator Chittenden, you were manning the helm last night while I was in a public forum. So turn it over to you.
Thank you for being here, Commissioner, and I'm glad you've already heard a little bit, but yesterday the committee did vote the bill out. There were hesitations and some nay votes. I won't characterize as to why, but the concerns were mostly around the possible lost opportunity to collect up to $119,000 for no-shows, or the $29 that somebody might have to put down as a deposit in some sense for when they're going to take a driver's test. That then, I guess, our understanding is it gets credited or would traditionally get credited towards the cost of the driving test. Should they not show, though, they would not be returned that money. In the JFO note, it said something about 4,000 times there's no shows. And so we're just wondering, why aren't you able or interested in collecting that $29? And maybe should we look at a system that could collect and keep $29 for no show fees within the DPD processes? So that help, Madam Chair?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Senator. Just for the record, Amy Pollard, Commissioner D&D. No, thank you for the question. For my short tenure here in the chair, the department has not been collecting this since this was implemented a couple of years ago, around the COVID timeframe. With as respect to the $29 on this. As you noted, last year the numbers we have on our weekly tallies, last year calendar year was 3,130 no shows. So around just street math with around 250, 258 a month, I would say. And that, as you correctly stated, if they did show up, that fee would be applied into the license, or in this case, the license for a driver test. My understanding from the position department when this was decided, one, it was some implementation difficulties with the current mainframe system, and which is right now we're going through the new modernization. First section of that last year was the rollout of the registration system. And this final section that's going to go live in November, deals with licensing and scheduling aspects. So making that type of change, I was told, was in the current 50-year-old system was challenging. So yes, this could be, but it'd be more of a post-November go live application. And I think the thinking of the department as this waits was that since its inception was not getting collected, it was revenue never being collected, since the system wasn't set up that way, and we've been making do without it. So,
If I may, to address the concerns raised in the committee yesterday, do you think that the DMV would be opposed to us not repealing this, but maybe giving some time for you to continue to acclimate your systems, then possibly consider implementing it a year out so as to keep it on the books? You want to think about that?
how do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was one of the senators who was concerned about this because what we were seeing, as I described to you while we were waiting to go live, was, our transportation fund is kind of hurting right now. We have less and less revenue in it for a lot of reasons. We're not getting enough revenue to meet the federal match money, so that's causing even more pressure. And we're reluctant to, create new fees. And while I hear you that this hasn't been implemented for technological reasons, it's what I hear. It is a fee that's currently on the books, and it does make some sense. So people have skin in the game or money on the table to show up to their driver's tests. If they do, they're not penalized. They get that taken off their driver's license fee or the driver's license fee. If they don't show up, they get charged $29. So, and given that it is 3,000 to 4,000 people, that's real money. I think it was 119,000 was the estimate from the fiscal office. And so as Senator Chittenden said, if we could do an amendment that would allow it to start maybe January 1st of 2026, that gives you the time to implement your new next rollout, and then we don't lose revenue in the fund.
If I could just ask more of just a operational type question on this. If someone misses their appointment, say in this current construct of $29, they schedule, they're no show, but everyone has reasons. How do we, I guess, what would be the expectation that we now work with individuals to apply this if they do come in and subsequently pass? Or we continue.
Like they reschedule and, so I think that if somebody reschedules and doesn't just ghost you and not show up at all, then they wouldn't be charged the fee. But if they just never show up, you know, and it's an online, you have their credit card and can charge their credit card for the $29. This seems to me what makes sense. I mean, yesterday we were trying to weigh all these things, like we have another bill on our wall about the forestry equipment and doing a sales and use tax exemption for forestry equipment, which would also hit the transportation fund. It was just trying to weigh like what is revenue that's has a purpose for giving up and what is revenue that might not have a purpose. And this seemed to me like something that would actually encourage people to keep their appointments or at least reschedule them if they couldn't come. Obviously, everybody has, especially when you're a teenager, but maybe, you know, that would make them be more responsible too. I don't know.
I'm still trying to get clear on the problem. Right now, I understand that the problem is you can't take an online payment with the system. I think that was mentioned yesterday by whoever presented it. Is your system going to be able to take online payments?
So the new system that's partially rolled out in this next phase will be able to, because this next phase that we're currently in deals with licensing and that aspect. So yes, after this rollout, the system would have the capability to handle it.
How long before it gets rolled out?
So our go live date is Veterans Weekend, November. I'm sorry, I think that's November 11th this year, around there. I'll just put an asterisk on that, just
Okay,
so probably there would have to be a slight change because some of the development's already been in code freeze and testing right now. So it'd be right after go live, however long that takes, which probably wouldn't be any significant amount of time, but it'll just be a short time after November to do another update to the system for,
so for practical purposes, next year.
beginning of next year, I would say.
What is the problem from your perspective as to why we should do away with this? I mean, what's the reasoning? I'm not clear.
I think just the reason behind it was since the department hasn't been charging this, and with a lot of the constraints with Vermonters right now on money, getting people in. Yes, I would agree. It's disruptive to a process. It's not terribly disruptive. We still get people in and on time and through DMV. But I think penalizing Vermonters who have things that come up, I think that's where the concern was.
So I'm wondering if you'd agree that if you've never collected this $29 fee and allowed very lenient processes to refund it, but it still was used as a motivation to make good on the reservation or to otherwise cancel within 24 hours so as to free up your staff so they're not there waiting for people to show up. I also have 2 teen daughters, so I just recently went through this, and my one's 15, just turned 16. So I remember when I was trying to schedule her out, there was so few availability, and I'm concerned with hearing 3,000 that a lot of those are just being grab, but then people aren't using them, which is, I don't know, operationally
Yeah.
inefficient. So do you see merit though? And if we do push this out a year or so, if anything, not to collect the money, but if anything to, I don't know, better streamline what your employees have to expect on a day-to-day basis, so we're not wasting their time?
Streamline, yes, any ways we can streamline, of course, whether or not people follow through on that, whether or not we see that streamlined, I guess would just be you'd have to just wait and see and watch that on that. But no, I mean, anywhere we can streamline, of course, that's where.
Would you object or be against, or maybe could think about it and come back to us if we just put this off a year before we repeal it, just to keep it as a live fee that you and your commission, your department could consider implementing a year out from now?
Sure, you know,
Okay.
I'm more flexible on this.
I mean,
Not collecting it.
it's right now. It's like it's something to help make things affordable. And if you say you're gonna reduce your driver's license by $29, I'd understand that. This is really rewarding people for not being responsible. And I think that's the concern, especially when we did do a major fee increase, because we kept getting new personnel and, salary agreements and contracts and no new money. And so I'm just wondering if this is the best way to make things more affordable. It's more affordable to you. Because if there's no penalty, why not book 4 different appointments? I mean,
Yeah, just to lock them in.
yeah,
My daughter is gonna get her driver's test in May. I don't know which day is gonna work for me, because the session might go long, she might not be available, so without this fee, I might be motivated just to grab up 4 options. But if you're gonna charge me 20, I'm really cheap, so $29 a pop. I cancel them.
It is true. It is cheap.
So maybe if this is no longer in our committee, but maybe to address the concerns, we can draft an amendment and discussion, pass it by you all, and hopefully get that composed by the end of this week, because it's probably gonna go.
yeah, you've got to,
Yeah,
so.
and I think Senator Matos was interested in this too, and I think we have to go to transportation about that.
Okay,
Okay.
Send an email out. I'm the presenter of this bill from finance.
Oh, you
I'm gonna take ownership on this to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
okay, thank you.
Commissioner.
Thank you.
Committee, we are out until 2:00. Schedule